Zoro and Sanji's new powers are stronger than devil fruits. Hey, listen, okay? Don't get mad at me, because by the end of this video, all of you guys will understand that with the help of Dr. Vegapunk, Zoro and Sanji's new powers will be as though they had eaten devil fruits. Chapter 1064 confirmed our prediction that Dr. Vegapunk will work with the Straw Hats, and eventually help them gain new powers to overcome their future endeavours. In fact, he is now on his way to become a temporary part of the crew as the gang protects him from the world government. In our previous videos, we have spoken about Luffy learning more about his devil fruit and in turn becoming more efficient using his Gear 5. But now it's time to talk about Zoro and Sanji's new powers. Yes, Dr. Vegapunk is literally going to buff the entire team. But how will he help them? We know Luffy will be through his fruit, Frankie through his machinery, Usopp with his bio sniper, Nami with her climate act, Chopper with his rumble balls and medicines, and Robin with the lost knowledge of Ohara. With Zoro and Sanji, gaining new strength isn't quite so straightforward.
You do realise you just skipped Jinbei and Brook.
Anyways, these two are literally the backbone of the Straw Hats' power. And now that we're in the final saga, their strength has to skyrocket to the point of being adversaries to the likes of admirals or even vice captains of other Yonko. But how? How will they close the gap in such a short amount of time? Zoro is not going to be wielding a lightsaber and becoming a Jedi. Neither is Sanji going to depend on a new raid suit. I'm sorry, but that's just not happening.
Move this man!
Or maybe it is. But that's not the essence behind their growth. So let's get into this and break things down. Let's begin with the right hand of the future Pirate King and the next strongest swordsman in the world, Roronoa Zoro. Since the beginning of the series, we barely ever see Zoro fight with full strength. For example, we've only seen his 9-sword style attack in the series twice. One of them being in Wano, where we finally get to see Zoro at full power when he damaged Kaido, defeating King and witnessed the Grim Reaper himself. Even after this arc, he is still not at the level Luffy will need his right-hand man to be in order to become the Pirate King. He barely defeated King in his battle, and he even lost his swords at one point. His growth and mastery solely depends on taming and breathing voices into his legendary blades. Zoro is literally all green in this field of swordsmanship. Every top-tier swordsman in One Piece has a name for their sword, giving their sword their own identities. I mean, Roger was so close to his sword Ace that he named his kid after it. Mihawk has his Yoru, Shanks his Griffin, even Whitebeard's poleaxe Murakumo Giri is special to him and has been alongside him for over 3 decades, as we see in his fight against Roger. In Zoro's case, apart from Wado Ichimonji, which was given to him after Kuina's passing, his other blades are fairly new to him. He acquired the cursed blade Sandai Kitetsu in Logtown 2 years ago, and then Oden's Enma recently during Wano. Even at that, Zoro only just figured out that his blades have their own voices, which represents its individual desire. Yes, as chapter 1033 showed Zoro revisiting his past to recall the speech of the very swordsmith that created Enma, Shimotsuki Kazuhaboro. Shimotsuki Kazuhaboro informed a young Zoro the secret behind wielding a blade. This insight allowed him to connect further with his sword to then destroy King. However, what if we told you that the sword's voices and personality is actually formed by the user's and the swordsmith's will? And when I mean will, I of course am referring to Haki. The Egghead arc showcased Vegapunk's deep knowledge on devil fruits, specifically Zoan and the nature of their awakening. Now, you might be thinking, introduction, the theme of desire and manifestation was being solidified. First with the idea of Vegapunk Para living on through the surviving books, to then of course the conception of devil fruits altogether. Vegapunk even flexed the insight of Zoan awakenings and how the user would usually lose their senses over to the Zoan. Remember, this man forcibly awakened the jailer beasts, and also understood the complexity of the Zoans to merge them into inanimate objects, and even managed to replicate a Zoan devil fruit. But the most important aspects from all of this was Vegapunk's revelations of how devil fruits came to be. The desire and the will of people to achieve a form of evolution. This will is not so different from Vegapunk's own will to advance scientific technologies, or even a swordsmith's will to create an unparalleled blade. blade, or in Zoro's case, becoming the greatest swordsman. With a strong desire, a strong haki will follow. Now, haki, as we understand it, is simply the application of will over others, and can be used to enhance one's prowess or turning blades black, so on and so forth. However, time after time, we have been suggesting that there is another layer to haki. The advanced civilization understood this, and was able to manifest haki into living things and reality, one of which being devil fruits. This concept can also explain the manifesting of Mary from the love and desire the Straw Hats had for their ship. A literal personality was born just from the emotions of people. This perfectly brings us back to Zoro and his own swords. Each of them with time had haki imbued into them, which eventually passed on the will of the user. This will formed into its own personality, hence why Wado Ichimonji can be seen as the most loyal, Sandai Kitetsu as a cursed blade, or even Enma having such a greed for haki and the thirst for battle. So when Zoro met the manifestation of Enma, it appeared to be death itself.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Many of you will just dismiss this, saying that it was just Brook who Zoro mistook since he was all drugged up. However, this imagery lines up perfectly with our theory of swords having their own personalities and wills. What does Enma mean? The king of hell and the personification of death. So isn't it odd that Zoro would see death itself when he has just poured a crap ton of haki into his sword? You're telling me Oda, the man who snuck in Kanjuro using his left hand to draw for 400 chapters as a hint that he was sus, just put this big piece of evidence in as nothing but a gag?
No.
Come on! You're smarter than that. The Grim Reaper we saw in chapter 1038 could be the actual manifestation of Zoro's sword, just like how Mary's manifested in chapter 254. Dr. Vegapunk will be the perfect person to explain the nature of these spirits, along with teaching Zoro and the Straw Hats how to understand and control them. Even Nami controlling Zeus, or Sanji with his programmed nature, but we'll get onto that in just a bit. Zoro, after defeating his first opponent, the right hand of a Yonko no less, has been acknowledged by Enma. Zoro even showed that he could reach the level of someone like Kozuki Oden, as he wounded Kaido just like he did. So of course Oden's sword would see Zoro as worthy to see the full depths of its power. It's possible that after seeing a sword manifest in front of his eyes, Zoro understands the true meaning behind Mihawk's words about black blades being forged through battle. Through that hardship, a bond is forged between master and blade. So who better to ask for help than the smartest man alive, Vegapunk? But this brings us to the question, what exactly will Zoro learn from Vegapunk, and how will that help him? Well, after learning the spirit of his sword, Zoro will be able to attack in ways he has never done before. His slashes will have a mind of their own. This will be very important against observation haki users, especially those who can predict the future. Mihawk is Zoro's final opponent to reach the height of becoming the strongest. We have never seen Mihawk fight seriously, and knowing our theory about the double iris, Mihawk's observation haki could have a whole new tier. To counter this, Zoro's attack itself has to have its own will and desire. This will confuse his opponent, who would usually depend on looking into the will of a person in front of him. Likewise, when we come to number 3 of the Straw Hats, because Sanji's upgrade after his fight with Queen is insane.
In Wano, Sanji gained unique abilities that propelled him to the upper echelons of power in the One Piece world. We saw this increase against Queen, where Sanji's body became like that of his siblings, incredibly durable to the point of completely negating an attack from Kaido's number 3, who's worth over 1 billion berries. Sanji even managed to conjure blue flames, showing the level of heat that his legs can now achieve. However, the one thing that sets him back was the innate nature of his genetic programming to remove his emotions and ability to feel. Though his mother took some special pills to negate the effects of Sanji's biological engineering, after wearing the raid suit in Wano, the effects of the pills were offset. This was the very reason how Sanji displayed such an epic boost of power, but with this new strength he gained, he started to also lose his emotion. This double-edged sword is kryptonite kryptonite for someone like Sanji, who Oda has stated that his powers lie in his heart. Even his desire for cooking and finding all blue is emotionally driven. This Vegapunk arc has more connection with Sanji than even Zoro, as his father worked alongside Vegapunk at Mads to achieve the genetic modifications that Sanji and his siblings received from birth. Sanji never wanted to fight, he just wanted to cook and love women. He would never let go and have his genes take control of him. This is why he asked Zoro to kill him if he wasn't back to normal after his fight with Queen. He would rather die than live like his sibling. That's how afraid he was of that lifestyle and mindset. This is similar to how Zone Awakenings remove one's inhibitions. Though power is gained, the mind is taken. Hence Vegapunk's reaction to Luffy and Lucci's awakening. Vegapunk even stated it's rare for Zone Awakening users to regain their emotions and keep control. We have also seen this with Chopper's Monster Point. However, Vegapunk might have the answer to take control over the awakened state. The Jailer Beasts are a prime example of this. They are fully controlled and are able to take orders from Sadi. Likewise, Sanji has to take control over his own innate disposition that was engineered into him by his father, and Vegapunk holds the answer. Once Sanji is no longer scared and accepts his own abilities, the levels he will reach will be unprecedented. In fact, Sanji, using his emotions, will be able to surpass his siblings' genetic enhancements. This brings us back to Oda's statement that Sanji's firepower comes from his burning heart. It could also be a huge hint to Sanji's fire. This time, I'm not referring to his passion, I mean his actual fire. We have surmised that his fire comes from Lunarian genetics, but in order to unlock this, Sanji needed to use his will to conjure the flames. The medicine his mother took to suppress his powers had been fading through the use of the raid suit, and Sanji's will to become stronger conquered his genes, making the Lunarian power his own. Vegapunk will inform Sanji of all the modifications he has and how he can control his Lunarian powers. He will help Sanji achieve a higher level with no risk of his emotions being lost, rather it being the fuel to his fire. This might lead to Sanji getting his own upgraded suit, not stealth black but a custom suit enhancement specifically for him to support higher temperature of flame. Combined with his armament haki, it can burn at insane degrees. Probably as hot as magma as shown by King during his fight against Zoro in chapter 1035. And we all know magma beats fire in One Piece. Just look at Ace. Sanji having Lunarian DNA enables his flame technique, and we know from the newly introduced Seraphim that Lunarian DNA can be added into other cells. Robin previously called Sanji the wings of the future Pirate King. This seemed metaphorical, but now it seems like a literal thing Sanji will become, unlocking not just the fire flames but wings themselves. We always see Sanji flying with his airwalk, and now he will fly with his wings on his back. Either or, Sanji and Zoro will become beasts with the help of Dr. Vegapunk. It'll be like they themselves have devil fruits. Let's not forget, their powers are similar to how devil fruits have essence or souls from other objects or animals inside of them. Sanji has the essence of the Lunarians, maybe even Kuma's race's sturdiness, and Zoro's swords are also developing their own wills after constant battles. Their new powers are basically devil fruit powers, but they can actually swim. However, with devil fruits, you just gain that object by eating it. There isn't much work needed to be a decent fighter if you have an OP fruit. Just look at Enel. But to master a devil fruit is a completely different story. Similarly, Zoro and Sanji, in a sense, will have their awakenings in this arc. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to check out this other One Piece video about Luffy's Awakening Gear 6.